All right, got a great show going today. So we're going to be talking about Bill Maher, Carver, both looking to leave the Democratic Party, as well as Max Miller, pictured here with an interview with Jake Tapper. He was accused of beating his wife and daughter back in 2020. They divorced in 2024. He threw up a defamation suit here in 2026, pretty much when it became expedient for him because he knew the information was going to come out during his race for the Ohio Senate. The daughter Moreno is also the daughter of a current sitting senator, a Bernie Moreno, and he has, obviously taken his daughter's side, called him a madman, that kind of thing. So Republicans, the party of family values, is out here once again, throwing scalding hot water on his wife. He got it straight out of the tap, the hottest you can get out of there. And his defense to this was, well, we tested the water that was coming out of there and it wasn't scalding hot. It was just very hot. But anybody who's had tap water before knows that it can get pretty dang hot, depending on how much your plumbing is set up, that kind of thing. Either way, not a funny prank to be throwing pots of hot water on your spouses, nor to have your daughter have a broken collarbone that had, I believe the doctor noted something like a suspicious hand mark near it, or some kind of like the break was similar to something a hand would do, something like that. Other allegations during the divorce are also that he held his wife at gunpoint while she changed diapers. Yeah, just an absolute sicko, and shouldn't be running for anything. The ethics committee has already opened an investigation for him, but he obviously needs to step down. He obviously isn't, because he's running as a Republican. If he was running as a Democrat, he would be ousted already, like we saw with Plattner once credible allegations had come out. But they don't care about morals, and they're awful people. So I guess that's what they're going to run with. Digging deeper into the story, we are going to look at Jake Tapper, but we're going to look at that a little bit later. So here he's alleging $25,000 in damages for Moreno, which actually, given if they were actually false allegations, because remember, the truth is a defense of defamation. So as long as her allegations are true, he can't get a dime out of her on this one. But I would say more than $25,000 of damages would be due if they were false allegations. I think the only reason he's not going with a higher amount is because they aren't. And he knows it. I think he's just putting this up as kind of a temporary piece to say, look, we're fighting it until it actually blows up. Because as long as he can keep fighting it, he can keep pretending it never happened while he finishes his run. And once he's in Congress, I'm guessing he's hoping he can consolidate power and kiss the right butts in order to get out of this. Considering how many PDFs and other people have been able to skate on charges by just paying Trump enough to get a pardon and whatnot. But right now, there's no criminal charges. It's just the divorce court hearings allegations that are being talked. Excuse me, that are being talked about. And then these are just a couple of clips from Senator Moreno, who is the father of the abuse victim here. And we're just going to see a couple of things he said about it.
After the Ohio Republican Congressman Max Miller was accused by his ex-wife of abusing her and their 2-year-old daughter, which he strenuously denies, now another woman filing a restraining order against him. That woman is Stephanie Grisham, the ex-White House press secretary, one of Trump's first term, and also an ex-girlfriend of Max Miller. She's previously accused Miller of abuse, which he also denies. He filed a defamation lawsuit against her, which was privately settled. It comes after Miller's ex-father-in-law, Bernie Moreno, Ohio Republican senator, accused him of being, quote, increasingly erratic and exhibiting, quote, dangerous behavior. He insisted that Miller needs, quote, serious psychological help, and he called him unfit to serve in the House of Representatives. This morning, some Republicans are growing anxious about Miller's candidacy for a third term. The first of two deadlines for him to take his name off the ballot is tomorrow. This morning, ABC News has learned that President Trump called Miller yesterday to express concerns about his run. And on the phone with Trump, sources say that Miller denied the allegations and indicated that he wasn't going anywhere. Miller is a former close aide to President.
And by the way, yeah, Miller, like they said in that, is saying he's not going to drop out. He's already missed the first deadline to drop out. Would you believe that he's been endorsed by Trump, log cabin Republicans, Republic Jewish Coalition, which a lot of times works hand in hand with AIPAC? And then if you look at the organizations, who's the top donor? Once again, donating like almost 10x the next highest donor is the Israel PAC, or is AIPAC. So you can see who's funding him, obviously. PACs are a little bit more annoying to get into here. Let's see just what his number one funder is. Number one funder would be real estate associations and roundtables. Security brokers. We already saw other one. Financials, insurance, and real estate. So you know who's lobbying for him to go. You know that they're ghouls. They don't really care. The real estate PACs and industry lobbying firms, insurance companies, they don't care the personality or the morals of the people that they're electing. They only care that they're electing people that are going to. In fact, they want people specifically with less morals, because the less scruples you have, the less likely you're going to raise an eyebrow when you're asked to pull back certain regulations and allow them to do things that are going to be terrible for their constituents. So, they're really getting what they asked for here. Again, top donor every time. Every Republican is AIPAC. It's insane how much money they pour into U.S. elections. They're not pouring this much money into our elections because they don't get anything out of it. Israel gets a lot out of buying our politicians. That's why they keep doing it. That's why our politicians just signed the NDAA to secure more funding for Israel and intertie our militaries even more than they already were. But yeah, let's look at another piece from Senator Moreno.
This is truly the seventh level of hell. This has been
about Max Miller.
Horrific experience for my entire family. My daughter specifically did not want this to be out in the public. My daughter lives in constant fear of this man. Not like something that's existential, but deeply in her heart, she fears what this guy is capable of. You can't fathom what that makes me feel like when the dad's number one job is to protect your kids. And to have this whole thing out in the public like this is not what I wanted to do. It's not what my daughter wanted to do. But
it's interesting that his gripe isn't that the action was taken, not that his daughter was beaten or abused. It's that it's out in public. That's such a fucking politician thing to think. When any normal person would say that the abuse itself of my daughter is the horrendous thing that should have never happened. But,
on Sunday,
he ain't like the rest of us. Let's just put it that way.
When he went out and did what he did, including releasing photos.
Oh, that was the other wild part. I'll let him say it. But this part was crazy, dude. He blamed his attorneys for this, but just reprehensible.
Of my granddaughter, completely naked. But now you have hundreds of thousands of psychotic human beings that have that, and to say oops is grotesque. My personal opinion is that this is a felony, and that every single human being that touched that photo and transmitted it electronically should go to jail, because it is illegal to do that. This was about de-escalation. Every single week, she has to go arrange for a pickup and drop off of this little child. Just this Sunday, I had to go. Imagine this. I had to go pick her up because I don't want my daughter interacting with this man. This has been brutal beyond comprehension. And if there's any minimum standard for being an elected official, as I said, he fails to meet that minimum basic standard. I don't care about the politics at all. Don't think about it. Doesn't enter my consciousness.
Yeah. And of course, like, a lot of Republicans are backing him publicly, even if they would tell him to pull out privately, because they fall in line. They don't fall in love.
Also developing tonight, the family scandal erupting in full public view. Embattled her
I think this is just going to talk about what we've already, this is going to go over what we've already seen here. So we're going to skip this one. So this is after these allegations have been out, everything's aired out. And then he goes on Jake Tapper to do an absolutely insane interview here.
Let's start there with your former father-in-law's story today about your daughter and the little blue bunny doll that she cannot sleep without. If it's true, that sounds like emotionally abusive behavior toward.
What he's talking about is the daughter supposedly needed a bunny suit to sleep. One of those weird things that, kids kind of get hung up on, where they're like, I can't go into the dark without my strong bunny suit, or kind of thing. And that he intentionally took that away to put her in fear, essentially. So,
or a toddler to refuse to give it to her when she can't sleep without it.
Jake, I would agree that if that were true, that would be incredibly disturbing and that the senator would be right. However, he has taken 2 years to publicly acknowledge for me to resign from my seat. Why is that, Jake?
Yeah, that's the other piece that's so sleazy is Bernie knew for 2 years, obviously, it was going on in the background. Now, whether or not he didn't talk about it because his daughter didn't want to make a big deal out of it and make it a public affair, because as soon as he talks about it, then it's obviously a huge national news story. But regardless, dude, you'd think he would have said something. He would have talked about how this guy shouldn't be running, how this guy should be kicked out of office, because he's been in office before this. He's running for re-election. So he knew this guy was in office for the last 2 years, was an abuser, and did nothing, said nothing. But that's not a defense of the abuser himself. I just think they're both kind of pieces of shit.
He truly believed, like, I'm a father to a 2.5-year-old daughter. I believe that you're also a father to children. And I don't know if you're actually a father to a daughter. But what I can tell you is, well, Jake, then what I can tell you is that if my daughter came to me and she said, my ex-husband did X, Y, and Z, and then I waited because I was nervous that a political live stream was going to expose a deeply and personal, embarrassing matter to the senator for him to take that action. Sadly, this has nothing to do with my daughter, Jake, and that's what this entire thing is about. This is nothing.
Sadly, it has nothing to do with my... Dude, wouldn't you wish that it had nothing to do with your daughter, given the allegations?
More than an individual who's being politically vindictive and talking about a blue bunny, when I have text messages I can show you from our parent coordinator, who is a mandatory court reporter, who said that Mr. Moreno would be coming over my home, and then another individual came who I don't know.
Well, first of all, Congressman, you're faulting him for both not saying anything for 2 years and for saying something in the last 2 days.
Well, that's because, Jake,
it's possible that he didn't say anything because his daughter didn't want him to say anything, because he didn't want this to become any more of a spectacle than it's become.
You could say that, but also dealing with this in a private family matter, then why couldn't have we had a conversation a year ago? If Mr. Moreno felt this was the case, why do we now have to be here on national TV exposing all of our personal family drama? Why didn't he come to me and say, Max?
Because you ran for re-election again, and also you sued his daughter for defamation. So, you kind of made it public yourself. But
I don't believe privately that you should be in the United States Congress and that you need to look for a pathway out. And I do believe my daughter.
I don't know, but it's not really the issue,
with...
though, right? The issue is, the one I asked you about is, did you hold this doll hostage? Because that is emotionally abusive behavior.
Mr. Tapper, no. And just to further more than that, there have been 2 investigations that have already been looked into me. And I would like to just have a little bit of moment to explain. The first investigation that was looked into me was that my ex-wife, Emily Moreno, filed a report of child abuse against me.
Here, we're gonna kick this up a bit 'cause I don't want to sit here for 45 minutes listening to him. Playback speed 1.5 to start.
First incident, 2 individuals were held liable for abusing my daughter at a daycare, which I have a private settlement agreement from. I was found not guilty. They looked at my fingerprints. They made me take off my shirt. They made me look at my body to make sure that I didn't abuse my daughter. And that was number 1, Mr. Tapper. Number 2, when I was reported for child abuse for my daughter for a broken collarbone, my daughter was in my ex-wife's care 9 out of the last 11 days, and she took her to the emergency room, which is a contempt violation from our shared parenting plan. Furthermore than that, Mr. Tapper, is this.
It's a contempt violation for her to take her to the emergency room. I think he's leaving something out there, you know? Interesting what he chooses to keep in.
These matters have already been looked into. Ms. Moreno has already gone to the police. The police are not investigating it. Ask yourself, why aren't they investigating these things? You see yourself, I am not getting any special treatment. I have never done these things. These things have already been investigated. Yeah. I have no police reports looked into me, and we actually have evidence, unlike the other side. And so, you know, it's an honor for me to have a platform like this to continue.
His evidence, by the way, and he'll probably get to this later, is that his wife still cooked him dinner a week later and invited them to go to the park. Because, like, abuse victims never capitulate or do things to, you know, appease their abusers. That's never been known to be a thing that happens. We're just going to pretend like that's not a real
continue to fight and
thing.
Continue to show the American people that I've already been looked into.
Right.
I'm happy to be looked into again.
Is there anything that your ex-wife or your former father-in-law, Senator Moreno, say about you that is true? I mean, Senator Moreno said on Sunday that you have a...
There is one thing that they say that is true. He did, and his attorney did, release naked pictures of his daughter, which is PDF. And that, like the senator said, you know, far be it for me to disagree with a Republican, but they should all be in jail for that.
Admitted privately that you need to get help.
This is the unfortunate part about this.
Have you heard about pop-on siding? We need 50 homeowners in your area to trial this radically simple...
Only one person between myself and Emily Moreno who's been actually diagnosed with a medical condition.
But have you ever said
and that's
that?
not me. Yes, and I have it in her own words.
But have you said it? Have you ever said that you need to get help? That you need to see a counselor?
No, not to him. No.
No, to anyone. Have you said it to Emily?
Oh, well, Jake, I think a lot of people within this country see a therapist. I've been seeing a therapist over the last decade of my life. This isn't anything new. I don't know why this would be any more important than anything else. I think it's healthy to talk to somebody and to share what's going on within your life and to work through problems. I don't look at this as a negative thing for someone to seek therapy, to go through something. And
agreed.
Yes, Jake, I've been seeking therapy for the last 10 years of my life,
okay,
and I'm proud and honored to admit that.
When you did...
Yeah, right, dude, as a Republican from Ohio, he's just doing this because he's on Jake Tapper. Fucking BS trying to be like, I'm woke, dude. Look at me.
In your live stream on Twitter or X on Sunday, you said you were doing so to protect your daughter. And you did so, and you also released a Dropbox on X with files involving your family to show that you were a good dad. Now, one of the files was an image of your daughter naked, and it was available in that Dropbox for a day.
I know, that's wild, dude. I didn't realize he dropped it because he was trying to show evidence that he was a good dad. That's insane. Oh my God, dude. She was 3, by the way. This isn't like, not that it matters. As long as she's below 18, you're still releasing it. And even if she's above 18, you're doing it without her consent. But like, just the fact that he dropped them so that to show he's a good dad, like, these people are monsters, dude.
Before that photograph was removed. It's an image that your ex-wife's attorney says could qualify as child sexual abuse material. Your attorney has said...
Not just her, it does. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
That he is the one who did that, and he apologizes. But it is shockingly reckless behavior by you and your team.
I wouldn't say that it's shockingly reckless. That photo that was put in there is actually a part of an investigation by the Child and Family Protective Services, and that is already public knowledge that people can go and they can look through court-reported mandates. This is being taken very much out of context. There was no genitalia of my daughter that was exposed, and this is once again a very salacious headline.
It's not publicly available. We called the court today. It's not publicly available. But your attorney apologized.
I'm not defending it. It's awful.
You just defended it. You said it was taken out of context.
Well, because it is taken out of context.
I just spent a minute and a half defending sending out PDF of my daughter, but I wasn't really defending it. You know, you would have known if he had gone hard in the paint. You would have known.
In terms of how the articles have been written about it, I didn't do this. My attorney took full responsibility. I believe that it's awful. There was never any intent to do that. What I did on Sunday, okay, Jake, I went on CNN with Lauren Fox for a 45-minute interview about a month ago.
Right.
And
You
only
ran some of it.
Right. You ran some of it, but only 6 minutes of that interview was played.
That's how
and the
TV
reason,
works.
I know, Jake, but here's the deal, okay? She asked me a question, and she asked me a very, laced question and said, your ex-father-in-law and your ex-wife say that your daughter is terrified to go to your home. Every single time they say she's terrified. I then played Lauren Fox 3 separate audio videos, of my daughter saying, I do not want to go to mommy's, I do not want mommy's, and I do not feel safe. None of that made it out there. Why?
Because it was recorded without her permission, is my understanding of it.
No, it's a one-party consent in the state of Ohio. And this is...
Let's just check that. We can do a fact check real quick. Yes, it is a one-party consent state. I mean, that doesn't mean that... So it is a one-party consent state. That doesn't mean that CNN might not take some discretion and say, even if it is a one-party consent state, until we have the permission of the other person, we won't put it out there, but...
This is what I've had to do in order to get my truth out. I mean, you could say this is what the media does. They take a 45-minute interview and they clip it to 6 minutes of what they want the American people to see. That's why I did the live stream to lay everything out,
but
and I'm not hiding.
Congressman, I'm not talking about whether or not it was legal or illegal to record your ex-wife. I'm saying that the reason we didn't air it is because it was our understanding that the recording was done without her permission. That's something else. That's discretion. That's journalism. That's not a question of legality. But let's talk about it, because there is a police report from the suspected child abuse incident in February involving your daughter, and that report details that the child protection team says that your child had a right clavicle fracture and, quote, a bruise that accompanies the injury that appears to be in a handprint and appears to have been inflicted, unquote.
Oh,
Now,
that's what I was thinking of earlier. Okay.
That your
So it
child
was the
told
police
her
that
in the
were
days
reporting
leading
that,
up to
not
the
the
discovery of the
doctor.
injury, quote, Daddy, kill you. And your ex-wife also said your child had said, Daddy angry and Daddy's house is scary. Now, according to your wife, your daughter articulated these statements to children in faith services. So can you explain why your child may have said
Basically
those things?
CPS. For
Jake, I wish you could talk to my beautiful baby girl. She can't string together sentences like that. She's 2.5 years old.
Guys, I couldn't be abusing my daughter. She's too dumb to report it. You believe her reports? She's too stupid to report. What a... Oh my God, our politics is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It's a bunch of bumbling idiots wandering around colliding with the wall and then wondering why the wall broke their nose, dude. Yeah, I can't even.
She doesn't have
I'm
the
not gonna
ability to
make it, man. I
articulate
ain't gonna
any
get
of what
through
you
this
just
interview.
said. That is an entire fabrication of the truth. I have actual video, actual documentation.
But didn't you just
I have
tell me
been
that
through
you
two investigations.
just told me that she had said that she was scared to go to mommy's house?
She
and now,
is.
Yeah, and well,
And I have
he'll
video
say it,
of
I
it.
think,
and
in a
now you're
second.
saying that she's not capable of saying "Daddy, kill you."
Yep.
I mean, it seems like she's either
Because
able to
Daddy-
say one but not the other.
Jake.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm glad he keyed in on this because he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's saying his daughter is not capable of accusing him, but his accusations laundered through what he claims his daughter has said were credible. So good on Jake Tapper to catch that and run it back on him.
Jake, to be very direct, this is incredibly disturbing. I am not going to my child to say,
It's incredibly disturbing that my daughter has her collarbone broken and the police accuse me, and then I release PDF files of her. I find the whole thing incredibly disturbing. Like, dude, you're doing the disturbing. What do you mean?
Daddy, kill you. You have to look at the timing of everything that is taking place, right? What about due process? I have already been through these investigations, and
Convenient timing that after I commit a crime, they have all this evidence that I committed a crime.
I know that I've said that now 3 times, and we're kind of just blowing past this.
Man.
But these are individuals who do their jobs to protect kids. And the main job of the court and the main job of Child Protective Family Services and the main job of our judge who has been appointed to our divorce case is to make sure that our daughter is safe. And every single one of those individuals has agreed with me. I have full shared parenting. I still have full medical parenting, half. I still have full half education. If any of these things were true, Jake,
still have full
a judge
half,
would have
full
taken
half,
our
full
baby
half.
girl out of my hands. What you have is a very sadly politically motivated scenario to where, you know, people want to see me go away, and all of this happened, and I'm not.
You see this a lot with people, especially in politics, where they're tried in the court of public opinion before they actually get tried in a court of law, where they say, look, I'm not in jail literally yet. As of this moment, I am not in jail. Therefore, I'm not guilty of the crime. And it's just like, yeah, well, we have to make decisions faster than the court does because people are going to be voting on whether to send you to Congress or not. And so they have to look at the body of evidence before the court has time to decide, because courts are slow, so that they make sure they get the process correct. But in politics, a lot of times you're going to have to make those decisions before the polls close, which means looking at the evidence that's currently out and what you've put out there. And so far, the difference has been what she's put out there are police reports showing that your daughter had her collarbone broken with a handprint next to it, and that you had to have the water tested because you threw hot water on your wife. And then on your side, you put out naked pictures of your daughter. And like, that's the difference between the two. Which side would you believe if those were the two sides and you're looking at somebody else doing this? I tell you what, you wouldn't believe the guy putting out pictures. That's for sure.
Joking.
Yeah.
Take it for what you want. Look, this live stream.
You'd believe the person with multiple parties corroborating their story, including Child and Family Services, the courts, the police report from the daughter's collarbone break, that kind of thing.
The impetus for the resignation, okay, came because an individual thought something was going to be said on that live stream that I had no intention of saying, and I still do not have any intention.
But here's the thing. You're talking about a level of standard of proof that has to do with judges, and there is separately a different level when it comes to what kind of behavior is tolerated among public officials. Because there are now three women who have accused you of violent behavior. Politico published a report in 2021 that says when you were in high school, you, quote, pushed a girl out of the dorm of his room and she fell down some stairs after he became enraged when she resisted his attempts to touch her, according to 3 people who were there and many more who heard about the incident in the aftermath. Now, you deny that, but the woman in question told Mother Jones reporter Abby Vasulis just days ago that it happened and was, quote, one of the more traumatic nights of her life. Now,
and they've corroborated it with 3 people that were there, so it's like...
Hold on. Individual to go on the record because that...
Okay.
I was
hold on, because I'm not...
By the way, he wants them to go on record because he wants to be able to harass and dox these people because they're not public people, and he wants to bring them into the public limelight where he thinks he has an advantage and make their lives absolutely miserable until they inevitably pull back the complaints against him, because basically his audience would dox them and make their lives horrible. And then once they've pulled that back, he would use that as evidence that they were incorrect. When really what they did is they didn't want their lives ruined by making it a big public spectacle that he abused them in the past. Over and over again, I've seen Trump do it as well.
With a list of women that have accused you of violence. Then there is former White House press secretary. Okay, you were young. Then there's a former White House...
You see with like E. Jean Carroll. And then he falls back on like, well, I was young too. Why would you give multiple reasons? If you actually didn't do the thing, you wouldn't fall back on another reason that alludes to the fact that you did the thing. Like, you wouldn't say, oh, I was young and so it wasn't that bad that I did it, but also I didn't do it. That's not something a normal person would do. They would just say, I didn't do it, and you'd leave it there because you're like, well, if that's the actual truth, then you don't need a further explanation for it. But, you see him continue to defend it because obviously he's playing defense because he probably did actually do it.
Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham, who was your ex-girlfriend, she accused you of being abusive and having a violence. She wrote in her book, quote, I could do nothing right by him. I would wake up every morning shaking with anxiety about his mood that day. I had seen his temper before and it had scared me, unquote. She has recently filed a temporary restraining order against you in a defamation case. And now there are these claims from your ex-wife, Emily Marino. And I guess the question is, are all 3 of these women who don't know each other, are all 3 of them lying?
Yes, it's very easy, and I can tell you why. Every single time, and people have asked me, what are you going to do? Are you going to drop out of this race? Are you going to resign? Are you going to get out before the deadline? And my answer to you, Jake, is no. And I can tell you why. In 2016, when President Donald J. Trump faced the most extreme allegations in the world that hit him day after day after day, and people in the media, very much like yourself and others, said that he would have no shot at winning.
He's such a martyr, dude.
He should not be the president of the United States. But guess
such a martyr.
He stayed in and he was resilient. And what the American people can see is that they can see that somebody is fighting who is resilient, and that is a quality that the American people cherish.
That's right. I'm fighting to put out naked pictures of my daughter and that you can beat your wife without consequences. That's the family values that Republicans are looking for. There we go.
And so for no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community. You know, my record in Congress on the Ways and Means and House Foreign Affairs and bringing back money for our district and standing up for the Ukrainian people and also voting to protect Obamacare during this entire time. This is why no one's attacking me on my policy, Jake, because they can't. I've been a good legislator. All they're trying to do is create rumor mills without evidence. It's all hearsay. All hearsay.
Do you realize it's not hearsay if it is firsthand testimony from women, and I just named 3 people that are providing firsthand testimony. That's not hearsay. But do you realize what it is in terms of how tall an order it is for voters and your colleagues and everybody watching right now to believe that 3 women who don't know each other made up accusations of you being violent, and you are telling the truth here, they are lying? That is a difficult thing for people to believe, right?
No, not in this instance, because every single one of these
I've
things
been
that
lying
brought
for way
up,
longer
unlike
than
other
that. I'm more
candidates throughout the
experienced.
country, I've already had investigations into. The domestic abuse allegation that you're referring to against my ex-wife, Department of Child and Family Services already reviewed that, and they viewed that nothing happened. Bay Village Police Department, Ms. Moreno filed a police report. The prosecutor looked at it. They looked at it for a very long time. There was nothing there. My case is much different than everyone else that has been laid out before. Yes, I have tangible evidence, and I have also had investigations
the next section
that have
is all
cleared me of
stuff
every
that he
single thing
declines to
that
answer.
you have mentioned.
Except,
to be clear,
let's talk about this, because in the custody lawsuit, there was a discovery phase. And Emily Marino's lawyers asked you a series of questions about past alleged incidents. And some of them you denied outright. No, that's not true. No, that's not true. And others you refused to answer at all. Your lawyers claimed they were not relevant. And the ones you didn't answer include the incident involving the stairs or your past alleged drug use. If you ever referred to the birth of your child as, quote, setting your playground on fire. If you were ever kicked out of college.
When they say the stairs, they're talking about him pushing the lady down the stairs.
You wouldn't answer them. I mean, I can tell you that I never did any of those things. Why can't you?
Because, well, Jake, if you're wondering, I'm happy to
Well,
answer those
I should say I have
questions to you.
smoked marijuana.
Right.
I'm sorry, I take that back. I have smoked.
What a stupid thing to... Yeah, that's the thing that they're real concerned about right now.
Pot before it was legal. So
Okay.
getting it all out on the table.
Yeah, and that's great. So have I. And I don't think, previously when I was younger or even, a few years ago, there's anything wrong with cannabis use, as it's legal in 39 out of 50 states.
In the Mother Jones story, it said
But
when you were picked up
when
in drunk
talk to-
driving, you had ecstasy in your system.
Look, once again, these are already investigations, and we're bringing up things from 15 to 20 years
But why
ago.
wouldn't you answer those questions in discovery? Why wouldn't you answer the questions about whether or not you would push that girl down the stairs?
Well, because it never happened. Why would I give something credibility and answer for something that never happened?
But you did that for other
But
questions.
this woman isn't even coming forward. I don't know who you're referencing. Unless
The reason he didn't answer is because his lawyers probably advised him not to, because when it comes out, if she had any evidence of it or produced anything, then not only is he hit with the charges themselves, unless maybe they're past the statute of limitations, but he's also hit with lying to the courts, with perjury.
these people actually put a name to these allegations and come forward, I don't know how the American people can continue to believe things like this.
When's
That is also concerning.
When's the last time you ever used illegal drugs?
Illegal drugs?
Yes, because you're being investigated right now by the House Ethics Committee.
The last time, I would have to say, the last time I had illegal drugs would have been, I don't know, several years ago. I mean, I don't have a time frame on it, but I don't use illegal
20?
drugs. No, Jake, this is what they're doing, okay? This whole, needles thing, this is testosterone replacement therapy. People are painting this as something that it's not. Secretary Hegseth, who is the Secretary of War just 3 weeks ago.
Every Republican is out here doing hormone replacement therapy and doing gender affirming care on themselves, and then getting mad at trans people for wanting to do the same thing. It's crazy, dude.
Allowed our entire military
so
who are males to take testosterone replacement therapy. That's what I was doing. I have not been using any illegal drugs. This is nonsense, and this is much more of how Mr. Moreno and and my ex-wife are continuing to put this stuff out there.
Well, I think it's because there are three women. I think it's because there are 3 women that have alleged violence. I don't think any of this is actually about illegal drugs at all. I think it's because 3 women have alleged violent behavior by you, and 2 of them are fairly high profile on the record women.
But Jake, once again, the one part that I am never going to back down from and that the American people need to continue to look at is number one, I have had 2 full investigations that lasted almost a year into these child abuse allegations and into these domestic abuse allegations, okay? And
you say you'll never back down from it, but you sued Stephanie Grisham for defamation, and then you backed down from that suit, right?
No, that's not true. There was a settlement agreement, and so I would love to talk to you
that's
about that, but I
backing
can't. And but I didn't back down from that, and it was settled, and there's a reason for that, and that's all I can say regarding it.
Let me ask you.
But if you're asking,
you spoke with the president yesterday.
An NDA,
Did he tell you what he is telling aides privately, that he does not think you can win?
Look, the conversation I had with him yesterday at 9 a.m., and I've gotten a million phone calls about this, and this is what's so troubling. Look, he called me and he said, Maxie, it's going to be a tough race. And he said, I don't know if you're going to be able to, pull this one out. And you know what, Jake? I reminded him of the same resilience that he had when people told him that he was going to struggle in 2016 and he became the 45th president of the United States. And I have the utmost confidence that my constituents back home know me. This race is a home race. This isn't about what the national media thinks. This isn't about what people in California or New York or Florida think about what goes on in Ohio.
Yeah, and he's
7.
saying that people.
What you're going to see here.
Basically, what he's saying is that people in Ohio are dumber than the national average, and they will be fine with me beating my wife and child, and like previous partners and stuff. That's like almost bar for bar what he's saying right here. If you want a quick translation, he's like, it's a home race. It's not a national race. I don't care what evidence you have that I did these things. People in Ohio are too dumb. They won't watch this. They won't believe you, you know? Like the disdain they have for their own people, dude. They don't think, you know, this guy probably thinks that, honestly, if you got him in a back room and you got the truth out of him, he would probably be like, I think working class people are stupider than me. Because I think he honestly believes that. And I think that last phrase was really telling towards that end.
Is that I am going to be successful in this November because my constituents know who I am, and they also know who my ex-father-in-law is, and they also know who my ex-wife is. And that's why you've seen people aren't running from me. My numbers in fundraising are strong. You know, Speaker Mike Johnson.
Most of his fundraising, by the way, comes from AIPAC. We looked at that earlier.
Everyone else, they're standing behind me. No one has told me to get off the ballot, and that's because they know I can win this seat and see this through. And that's what we're going to do.
Let me ask you one last question, and I do appreciate your taking the questions here. Yeah. Is there anyone in your life, whether it's Republican leadership or your family or your girlfriend or anyone, is there anyone saying it really might be in the best interests for your daughter and for your own mental health to drop out, take a moment? You're still a young guy. You can always come back, that it might be actually in your best interests to drop out and your daughter's best interests?
Celebrate Paleo Valley's birthday sale and get 30 sticks for only $36. If you're someone who cares...
You know what?
He doesn't care what's in his daughter's best interest. There's like credible allegations that he abuses her, dude.
That is a question, Jake, I have been struggling with, you know, look, over the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to look at you the same way I think you would look at me if you were in my shoes, which is I am never going to give up. And what I mean by that is my daughter's going to grow up one day, and she's going to see all of this. And she's not going to see that her father caved to political and social media pressures for something that he never did. And furthermore than that, there are more than 50% of the people within this country who are divorced. And men get a really bad shake when it comes to family court. And it's not addressed enough in any way possible. And so here's what I can tell you is that I've received...
By the way, when you look at studies that show why men receive the child less in family court than women, it's because on average, men don't want the child as much as women. They literally give up custody more often than women.
More support than ever from our community, from the people where I live. And that is why we are going to stay in this race and be successful. And look, you're right. The allegations, they're incredibly troubling. I agree they're troubling. But if they were true, I'd be in prison. And there's the only reason out of myself and other Republican colleagues that I'm the only one that doesn't have an active investigation into it. And so at the end of the day, you know, I let the truth speak for itself, and the truth is right there. And I will never, ever, ever let my baby girl see her dad walk away as a quitter. I will continue to finish this, and if I have to run all the way to the end and I'm not successful, Jake, then that's a decision that I decide to make, and I can hold my head way up high knowing that I fought for the truth no matter what circumstances and no matter what came my way every single day, that Ruthie Miller will know that she's proud of her dad who bears my last name.
But you understand that the reason that this is a story is because it's not the...
I'm sure she'll be super proud of her dad who put out, again, PDF photos of her.
The first time a woman that you've been intimate with has accused you of violence and abuse. That's the reason. Now, it has nothing to do with political vendettas. It has nothing to do with Senator Marino. It has to do with the fact that there are two women on the record and a third who has talked to reporters or a reporter about what happened in high school.
And all I can tell you is this, Jake, is that I hope that you and the rest of the media do the same amount of digging as you are into me as you will into those other two. Because as you can see right now, there's...
Yeah, I hope you really dig into the victims and ruin their life, because that would benefit me if you force them out into the limelight. Like, again, it's just like the thing we were talking about earlier. He wants them in the limelight so that he can ruin their lives, and then they retract their allegations because it's ruining their lives, and then he uses that as evidence that he's correct even when he's not, you know.
And I understand I'm the member of Congress, so deservedly so, the spotlight, the attention, the media. But throughout this process, objectively, how come people aren't asking the tough questions out of them? I mean, it's been a free runway
private
of just
citizens?
Me being a punching bag without articulating my
You're
points.
a public official?
Presenting the evidence that we have here today and others.
They're not accused of physically abusing you. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Also,
Jake,
that.
I got to tell you, in this country, due process is a thing, and everyone is entitled to it. And once again, I've been absolved of these claims that you continuously are bringing back up, especially...
The due process argument is such a facade, dude. It reminds me a lot of when Republicans fall back on the Second Amendment argument. Oh, hey, what are you doing? I'm allowed to say this. Well, nobody's saying you're not allowed to say it. We're saying you're a piece of shit for saying it. there's a big difference there. You're immune from the government cracking down on what you're saying. You're not immune from people thinking you're a horrible person for saying what you're saying. And it's an argument you fall back on when you don't have a better one. It's kind of like the states' rights argument during the Civil War. People will be like, well, the states had a right to do whatever they want. It's like, well, what did the states want to do? We're talking about the thing they actually said, the thing they actually did, not their right to do it, you know? And in this scenario, we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about his right to do a thing. We're not talking about, we're talking about the thing he actually did, not his nebulous right to speak about it or something.
The most recent one with Miss Moreno. Once again, the Department of Child and Family Services and Bay Village Police.
And in the same regard, he's like, well, ignore all the evidence that's currently being presented because they haven't technically thrown me in jail yet. It's like, well, yeah, but there's a lot of evidence that you did it, and we're not going to wait years for the courts to decide. Well, you're still sitting in Congress and figuring out a way to slither out of it like a little snake, you know?
Department took her report. They investigated everything that she said. Both the Bay Village Police Department and both the Child and Family Services. And you can see right now, I'm not getting any special treatment, Jake. Okay. So if I really did those things, why wouldn't I be in prison? It's because it's an extreme fabrication of the truth. And look, at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to push. I am going to win this race. And my daughter will see that her father is going to be back in there. And then when we come back next term, my hope is you and I can have other conversations that will be a lot better than this about how we can move our country forward. Republican Congressman Max Miller, thank you so much.
I mean, the other thing to wrap this up real quick is he's in Ohio, so he's obviously a pretty safe seat as far as Republicans go. We'll see how disgusting their voter base is over there, or whether they have, enough of a conscience to actually oust a guy who would abuse his own family. So, gonna be an interesting one. But yeah, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, leave a comment. It all helps in the algorithm, especially for a new channel that doesn't take any kind of advertising dollars. So if you could do that, it would be immensely helpful. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one.